The zip ties bit into Cassidy Brennan's wrists, not tight enough to cut circulation, not loose enough to slip free. Professional work, but not military grade. That told her something about the men who'd taken her. She sat in a metal chair bolted to concrete in what looked like an old warehouse, the kind that dotted the industrial edges of every dying American town. Rust on the I-beams overhead, oil stains on the floor beneath her boots, the smell of decay and neglect. 4 men stood around her in a loose semicircle, all armed, all watching, waiting for someone. Cassidy didn't struggle, didn't test the restraints. She sat perfectly still, her breathing slow and measured, her eyes moving in small increments that most people wouldn't notice, counting exits, measuring distances, cataloging weapons. The Kalashnikov pattern rifles told her Eastern European. The accents she'd heard during transport confirmed it. Russian, maybe Ukrainian. The tattoos on the one nearest the door, faded, green ink, crude prison work, said organized crime, not military. 12 hostiles total. She'd counted them during the ride, felt the vehicle stop and start enough times to map the route in her head. 4 hours, 8 minutes from her ranch to here, southeast. That put them somewhere in Wyoming, probably near Cheyenne. The door opened. A man walked in, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Not from fear, from the sudden shift in energy that happens when someone truly dangerous enters a space. He was maybe 50, dark hair going silver at the temples, expensive suit that didn't match the warehouse setting, cold eyes that moved like a predator's, assessing, calculating, measuring her for a threat she hadn't shown him yet. When he spoke, his accent was refined, educated, Moscow money, not Moscow streets. "Miss Brennan," he said, "your sister has been very busy." Cassidy said nothing. 3 months of articles, the man continued, very detailed, very damaging. She exposed routes we've spent 16 years developing. She named people who do not appreciate being named. He moved closer. Leather shoes clicking on concrete. Stopped 5 feet away. Close enough to intimidate. Far enough to feel safe. "Do you know how much money your sister has cost us?" Cassidy held his gaze, still silent. $47 million. He said it like he was discussing the weather. 4 shipping routes compromised. 6 warehouses raided. 19 of my people arrested. The man circled her chair, slowly. She tracked him with her peripheral vision, noted how he favored his right side. Old injury, probably. "The Boston Herald thinks it can print whatever it wants about Dmitry Volkov," he said. "Your sister thinks she's untouchable because she has press credentials and a laptop." He stopped directly behind her. She felt his presence there, felt the implicit threat of the position. She was wrong. Cassidy let the silence stretch. Let him think she was afraid. Fear made people careless, made them underestimate. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was calm, flat, no tremor. "I'm not my sister." Volkov moved back around to face her. Something flickered in his eyes. Not quite doubt, not quite concern. Just a small crack in his certainty. "Your name is Deirdre Brennan," he said. "No." "You live in Boston, Montana. You write for the Boston Herald. I raise cattle." Volkov's jaw tightened. He snapped his fingers. One of the guards pulled out a phone, tapped the screen, held it up. On the display, a woman's face. Same bone structure as Cassidy. Same eyes. Same shade of blonde hair. But not her. "Your driver's license," Volkov said. "Your press credentials. Your apartment lease. all very official. "Those are my sisters," Cassidy said. "Deirdre, D. She's the journalist. I'm the rancher. We're twins." Volkov stared at her. The crack in his certainty widened. "Twins," he repeated. "Identical." He took the phone from the guard, swiped through images. His face went very still, the kind of still that comes before violence. "Call Boston," he said quietly. "Verify her location. Now." One of the guards stepped into the corner, speaking rapid Russian into a radio. Cassidy counted the seconds. 43. Then the guard's voice changed, became urgent, more Russian, fast and sharp. Volkov's expression didn't change, but his shoulders tensed. He held out his hand. The guard brought him the radio. He listened, said nothing, handed it back. Then he looked at Cassidy with eyes that had gone from cold to frozen. "Your sister," he said slowly, "is currently giving a press conference. Live. On television in Boston." Cassidy said nothing. "Which means you," Volkov continued, "are not Deirdre Brennan. No. You are Cassidy Brennan. Yes. The rancher." Cassidy met his eyes. Steady, unflinching. "That's right." Volkov turned away, walked 3 steps, stopped. His hand moved to his jacket pocket, pulled out his own phone. He typed something, waited, read the screen. Whatever he saw there changed his posture, made his spine stiffen, made his free hand curl into a fist. He typed more, read more. His jaw worked like he was chewing on something bitter. When he finally turned back, his face was carefully blank, but Cassidy saw the tension in his neck, the slight flare of his nostrils, the way his weight shifted to the balls of his feet. Recognition, and underneath it, something else. Worry. "Cassidy Ann Brennan," he said. "Age 28. Property owner, Glacier County, Montana. Inherited the Brennan Ranch from your grandfather, Dalton Thorne." He paused. "United States Navy. 9 years of service. Honorable discharge 7 months ago." Another pause. Longer this time. "SEAL Team 5. 4.5 years. The room got quieter. The other guards shifted, glanced at each other. "Close quarters battle specialist," Volkov continued. His voice had lost its smoothness. "Close protection qualified. Advanced combatives instructor rating." He read from his phone now, like the words might be wrong if he didn't see them written down. 63 documented combat engagements. 41 confirmed enemy neutralizations. 17 at close range. 6 hand-to-hand. He lowered the phone. Call sign, Havoc. The silence that followed was absolute. Cassidy sat perfectly still, hands bound behind her, chair bolted down, surrounded by armed men. But somehow in that moment, the tactical situation shifted, because now they knew. They'd grabbed the wrong woman, taken the wrong twin, brought the wrong Brennan to their warehouse, and they'd just told her they knew exactly who she was. Volkov's hand moved to his pocket again. A different pocket. He pulled out a satellite phone, turned away. Spoke in Russian, low and urgent. Cassidy couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she could read Volkov's body language, the way his shoulders hunched, the way his free hand gestured sharp and frustrated. He was explaining the situation to someone who wasn't happy about it. The call lasted 97 seconds. Then Volkov lowered the phone, stood very still for a moment, his back to Cassidy. When he turned around, his face was a mask. "My employer," he said quietly, "is very disappointed. I imagine so. He has given me new instructions." "I'm sure he has." Volkov stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive, European. "You and everyone else in this building will be dead in 4 hours," he said. "We will burn the warehouse. It will look like an accident, a tragedy. The authorities will find 6 bodies, too damaged by fire to identify easily." He tilted his head slightly. "By the time your sister discovers what happened to you, we will have already dealt with her, separately, professionally. The Boston Herald will write a very sad story about the tragic death of their investigative journalist. An accident. These things happen." Cassidy held his gaze. "You'll never make it to Boston." Something flickered across Volkov's face. Annoyance, maybe, or respect. Hard to tell. "You're very confident," he said, "for a woman tied to a chair." "I'm very aware," Cassidy replied, "of what happens in the next 4 hours." Volkov smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "We'll see." He turned to the guards, spoke in Russian, sharp commands. They nodded. 2 of them left the room. The other 2 took positions by the door. Volkov looked back at Cassidy one more time. 4 hours, Miss Brennan. I would suggest you make peace with whatever God you believe in." Then he walked out. The door closed behind him. The lock clicked. The 2 remaining guards settled into their positions, rifles across their chests, eyes on her. Cassidy sat in the silence that followed, breathing slowly, thinking. 4 hours. She'd worked with less. 26 years earlier. Montana, summer, 1998. The ranch house sat in a valley between 2 ridges, sheltered from the worst of the winter winds, open to the long summer light that made the grass grow thick and green. Cattle dotted the pastures. Horses stood in the shade of the barn. Inside the barn, a 12-year-old girl with blonde hair and a ponytail stood on a mat wearing shorts and a tank top, sweat making her skin shine. Across from her, a man in his 50s watched with eyes that missed nothing. Master Chief Dalton Thorne had the build of someone who'd spent 40 years being harder than the things trying to kill him. Not bulky, not soft, just dense, compressed. Like oak that had been seasoned and cured until it was almost iron. His hair was silver. His hands were scarred. His voice was gravel smoothed by decades of salt air and cigarette smoke he'd given up 10 years prior. "Again," he said. Cassidy moved, the combination he'd taught her. Jab, cross, lead hook, step, rear kick. Her form was clean. Her technique was sound. Her 12-year-old body was already starting to show the coordination that would make her dangerous someday. But Dalton shook his head. Faster. She did it again. Faster this time. The bag barely moved. "You're thinking," Dalton said. "Don't think. Move." "I am moving." "You're thinking about moving. That's different. Thinking gets you killed." He stepped up to the bag, demonstrated. The same combination. But when he did it, the bag jumped. Chains rattled. Dust fell from the barn rafters. And he was 56 years old. "See that?" he asked. "You're bigger than me." "Barely. I'm 5'10". "You'll be 5'4", maybe. 6 inches. That's nothing." He tapped his temple. "It's not the size. It's the intent. When you hit to destroy. Not to touch, not to score points. To break whatever you're hitting. Cassidy looked at the bag, then at her grandfather. What if I can't break it? Then you hit it harder next time. Again. She moved through the combination. Better this time. More committed. The bag swung. Dalton nodded. Better. Now understand something, Cass. The world is full of people bigger than you, stronger than you, meaner than you. But none of that matters if you're faster, smarter, more ruthless. He held up 3 fingers. Speed, technique, aggression. Those 3 things beat size every single time. You've got the first 2. We need to work on the third. What's aggression? Willingness to do what needs doing. No hesitation. No second thoughts. When you fight to end it. 1 strike, 1 opponent down. That's the standard. Cassidy wiped sweat from her forehead. Is that how the SEALs do it? That's how anyone who wants to survive does it. He moved to the wall, pulled down a pair of focus mitts, slipped them on. You're 12 now, he said, old enough to understand something important. This isn't about being tough. This isn't about proving anything. This is about being ready. Ready for what? For the moment when you don't have a choice. He held up the mitts. When that moment comes, and it will come, Cass, it always does, you need to be able to act. Instantly, efficiently, without doubt. Because doubt is what gets you hurt. Doubt is what gets you killed. Cassidy stepped forward, set her stance. So we're going to train, Dalton continued, every summer, every break from school, until this becomes part of you, until you don't have to think, until your body knows what to do before your brain even catches up. He smiled. Rare thing is smile. It made him look younger. Sound good? Cassidy nodded. Yes, sir. Good. Now hit the mitts, and this time pretend they owe you money. She hit them again and again, until her arms burned and her lungs ached and her knuckles were raw. And Dalton stood there absorbing every impact, calling corrections, pushing her harder. Faster, sharper, like you mean it. The afternoon light slanted through the barn doors. Dust motes danced in the golden air. Outside the cattle lowed, the horses stamped, the world went on quiet and peaceful. Inside, a man taught his granddaughter how to survive. Present day, the warehouse. Cassidy sat in the chair and thought about Dalton. He died 2 years ago, 80 years old. Heart attack in his sleep. Peaceful. The kind of death most warriors don't get. He'd left her the ranch, left her his notes, left her everything he'd learned in 4 decades of teaching men how to be SEALs, and he'd left her one final lesson written in a letter she'd found in his desk drawer after the funeral. Cass, if you're reading this, I'm gone. That's fine. I had a good run. No complaints. You're the best student I ever had. Better than the hundreds of SEALs I trained. Better than me, if I'm being honest. You've got the speed, the technique, and the aggression. You've got all 3. But here's the thing they don't teach you in Coronado. Here's the thing I should have said more often. It's not about being the deadliest. It's about knowing when to use it, when to hold back, when to walk away. Being dangerous is easy. Being controlled is hard. You've spent your whole life learning to fight. Now spend the rest of it learning when not to. That's the real mastery. Love Dalton Cassidy had read that letter 50 times, memorized it, understood it. But understanding and practice were different things. And right now, sitting in a warehouse with 2 armed guards zip-tied to a chair with 4 hours until execution, understanding wasn't enough. She needed practice. The guards were talking. Quiet conversation in Russian. One of them, thick neck, shaved head, prison tattoos, kept glancing at her. Nervous energy. The other one, leaner, sharper features, more professional, seemed calmer. Calm was more dangerous. Calm meant training. Calm meant he'd done this before. Cassidy tested the zip ties, not by pulling, just by shifting her weight, feeling the resistance. The chair was bolted down, but the bolt holes were old. She could feel the give, microscopic. But there, the door opened again. A different man entered, older than the guards, 60 maybe, gray in his beard, thick through the shoulders despite his age. He moved like gravity affected him differently than other people, like he'd spent so long in combat zones that he'd learned to be heavier than bullets. He looked at Cassidy, then at the guards. Out, he said. English. American accent. Midwest, maybe. The guards hesitated. Now. They left. The man pulled up a plastic crate, sat down facing Cassidy, close, maybe 4 feet away, inside her reach if her hands were free. He studied her face. His eyes were a faded blue, the kind of blue that comes from staring at distant horizons for too long. Cassidy Brennan, he said. She said nothing. I'm Garrison Webb. Used to be SEAL Team 6, a long time ago. He let that sit in the air between them. Before that, SEAL Team 2, Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm. Couple other places that don't show up in the history books. He scratched his beard. I knew your grandfather. That got her attention. She couldn't hide it. Didn't try. Dalton Thorne, Garrison continued. Master Chief, best damn hand-to-hand instructor the team's ever had. Taught me in 1985. I was young, cocky, thought I was hot shit because I made it through buds. He smiled. It was tired. Dalton put me on my ass in about 4 seconds. Then he taught me how to do the same to someone else. Spent 6 months with him. Learned more in that time than I did in 2 years of training before it. Garrison leaned back. The crate creaked under his weight. He retired in 2000. I heard he moved to Montana. Heard he had a granddaughter he was training. Didn't think much about it at the time. He gestured at her. Then Volkov runs your name and I see the service record. SEAL Team 5, CQB Specialist, Combatives Instructor Rating, and the name Brennan. I put it together. Cassidy watched him, trying to understand the angle. Everyone had an angle. You're Dalton's legacy, Garrison said quietly. That's what you are. He trained you from childhood, got you ready, pointed you at the teams, and let you go. And you made it. You actually made it. He shook his head. Do you know how rare that is? A woman making it through buds, making it onto a team, earning a call sign like Havoc. Rare enough. More than rare. It's damn near impossible. The attrition rate for women in the pipeline is 98%. But you did it, because Dalton prepared you better than anyone else was prepared. Garrison's eyes hardened. So here's what I need you to understand, Cassidy. I'm not one of Volkov's thugs. I'm not here by choice. I'm here because I've been tracking this operation for 14 months, trying to figure out who's running it, trying to get evidence, trying to stop it. He paused. I'm CIA, contractor, deep cover, and you being here just complicated everything. Cassidy processed that, ran the variables. You're working with Volkov. I'm pretending to work with Volkov. There's a difference. And the others. The people he's holding. Garrison's expression darkened. 4 others. Beckett Hayes, ex-FBI, Sloan Whitmore, former Army medic, 2 teenage girls, American citizens, trafficking victims who saw too much. Where are they? Different room, east side of the building, guarded. Cassidy looked at the door. Back at Garrison. What's the play? The play, Garrison said, was to wait. Let the FBI raid this place. Arrest everyone. Secure the evidence. Clean and simple. But Volkov's boss found out we grabbed the wrong Brennan. And now the orders are to kill everyone and burn it all down. In 4 hours. Who's the boss? Garrison didn't answer right away. He looked at the floor, at his hands, like he was weighing how much to say. Finally, ever heard of Thaddeus Rourke? No. Colonel Thaddeus Rourke, former Delta Force, commander during the invasion of Panama in 1989. One of the best operators the Army ever produced. What happened to him? He was declared killed in action, Somalia, 1993, Battle of Mogadishu. They never found his body. Garrison looked up. Because he wasn't dead, he faked it, walked away, used his contacts, his training, his knowledge of military logistics to build a criminal empire. 16 years of weapons trafficking, millions of dollars, hundreds of routes. And nobody knew it was him because officially he's been dead for 31 years. Cassidy felt something cold settle in her stomach. And now he's coming here. He's already here. Landed 20 minutes ago. 6 contractors with him. All former Tier 1 operators. Delta SEALs Rangers. The best people money can buy. So we're outnumbered. We're outnumbered and outgunned. You're zip-tied to a chair. I'm one guy with a handgun. We've got 4 civilians who can't fight, and we've got... He checked his watch, 3 hours and 42 minutes before Rourke burns this place with all of us inside. Cassidy looked at Garrison, at the genuine concern in his eyes, the frustration, the tactical reality of impossible odds. Then she smiled. Not much. Just a small curve at the corner of her mouth. Garrison, she said quietly, have you ever been in a kill house? He frowned. What? A kill house. Close quarters combat training facility where SEALs practice room clearing. Of course. Then you know the drill. Tight spaces, multiple hostiles, limited sight lines, weapons everywhere, if you know where to look. She glanced around the warehouse. This whole building is just a big kill house, and kill houses are where people like me live. Garrison stared at her. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition, maybe, or memory. The memory of what it felt like to be young and deadly and absolutely certain. Dalton really did train you, he said, every summer from age 12 to 18. Then Coronado finished the job. And you think we can get out of this? I think, Cassidy said, that Volkov made his first mistake when he left me alive. His second mistake was telling me I had 4 hours. And his third mistake was putting me in a building full of men who don't know what I can do. She met Garrison's eyes. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to help me get out of these zip ties. Then we're going to get the others. Then we're going to secure weapons. Then we're going to clear this building room by room until everyone who needs to be unconscious is unconscious, and everyone who needs to be dead is dead. Just like that. Just like that. You're serious. Dalton taught me a lot of things, Cassidy said. But the most important thing he taught me was this: when you can't change the situation, change yourself. We can't make Volkov let us go. We can't make Rourke call off his contractors. We can't wait for rescue. She leaned forward as far as the zip ties would allow. So we become the thing they should have been afraid of in the first place. Garrison was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his boot, pulled out a small folding knife, and moved behind her chair. Dalton would be proud, he said. The blade bit into the plastic. Once, twice, 3 times. The zip ties parted. Cassidy brought her hands around, rolled her wrists, felt the blood flow return, stood up. The chair scraped on concrete. She was 5'4", maybe 130, soaking wet. Blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt and boots that had seen actual work. She looked like a ranch hand, a farm girl, someone's granddaughter who knew how to fix a fence and birth a calf. But Garrison saw something else in her eyes, something that reminded him of younger days, of men he'd served with who had that same look. The look of someone who decided that death was negotiable. Okay, he said. What's first? Cassidy rolled her shoulders, stretched her neck, tested her range of motion. First, she said, we find out where they're keeping the others. Second, we secure an armory or weapons cache. This operation is too big not to have one. And third, she looked at the door, at the 2 guards outside. Third, we start removing obstacles. The guards out there are armed. I know. They'll shoot you. They'll try. Garrison studied her face, saw no doubt there, no hesitation, just calm, cold assessment. How do you want to play it? He asked. You're going to create a distraction, something medical. Heart attack, maybe. Something that makes them think I'm not the threat. And while they're distracted, I'll handle it. Handle it how? Cassidy's smile was small and sharp. Dalton's first principle. Speed, technique, aggression. In that order. She moved to the door, put her ear against it, listened, counted breaths. Timed the guards' movements by the sound of their boots on concrete. 23 seconds between passes. 1 guard stationary, 1 guard patrolling. She turned back to Garrison. Call them in. Tell them I'm sick. Collapsing. Whatever. Make it convincing. And when they come through that door, Cassidy said, they picked the wrong twin. Garrison looked at her for another moment, then he nodded. Okay, Dalton's granddaughter, let's see what you've got. He moved to the center of the room, took a breath, then he started yelling. Help! She's not breathing, I need help. The door burst open. Both guards rushed in, weapons up but not aimed, looking for the medical emergency. They never saw Cassidy. She'd positioned herself behind the door, in the fatal funnel, the place where people forget to look because they're focused on what's in front of them. The first guard, the nervous one with the shaved head, came through fast. Cassidy moved faster. Her right hand snapped out. Palm strike to the throat. Not hard enough to crush. Hard enough to close. The guard's windpipe spasmed. He couldn't breathe. Couldn't yell. She caught his rifle as he dropped it, swung it like a club, butt stroke to the temple. He went down hard. The second guard, the calm one, the professional, reacted instantly. Started to bring his weapon around, but Cassidy was already inside his reach. Jammed the barrel up with her left hand, kneed him in the groin with everything she had. He doubled over. She brought her elbow down on the base of his skull. Controlled strike. Not lethal, just lights out. He collapsed on top of his partner. Total elapsed time 4.3 seconds. Garrison stared. His mouth was slightly open. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. Cassidy picked up both rifles. Checked the chambers. Both loaded. Safeties off. She handed one to Garrison. "Now," she said, "we get the others, and then we find out who else in this building wants to make the same mistake." She stepped over the unconscious guards and moved into the hallway. Behind her, Garrison Webb, veteran of 30 years in the most dangerous places on Earth, realized something important. Volkov hadn't grabbed the wrong twin by accident. He'd grabbed the wrong twin by fate. And fate, Garrison thought, had a wicked sense of humor. He followed Cassidy into the dark. The warehouse hallway stretched 40 feet. Concrete walls, exposed pipes overhead, emergency lighting every 10 feet, casting pools of harsh yellow into the darkness between. Cassidy moved along the right wall, weapon up, scanning. Her boots made no sound on the concrete. Behind her, Garrison matched her pace, covering their six. They'd been moving for 90 seconds, past 2 empty rooms, 1 bathroom, 1 storage closet filled with boxes that smelled like old paper and mildew. No contacts yet. But that would change. Cassidy held up a closed fist. "Stop." Garrison froze. She'd heard something. Voices. Russian. Coming from the room at the end of the hall. She pointed. Garrison nodded. They moved forward. Slow. Controlled. Every step deliberate. This wasn't a movie. Real operators moved like they had all the time in the world because rushing got you killed. The door was metal. Industrial. A small window at eye-level wire mesh reinforced. Cassidy peered through. Quick look. Less than a second. Pulled back. 3 hostiles inside. 2 standing, 1 sitting. The sitting one was older. 50s maybe. The other 2 looked younger. Contractors. They had that particular stillness that came from military training. And in the corner on the floor, 4 people. 2 women. 2 teenage girls. The hostages. Cassidy looked back at Garrison, held up 3 fingers, pointed to her eyes, pointed inside. He understood. 3 guards, visual confirmation. She touched her chest, then pointed to the door, then held up 1 finger. Entry point 1. She'd go first. Garrison tapped his own chest. Held up 2 fingers. He'd be second through the door. Cassidy reached for the door handle. Tested it slowly. Not locked. Good. She took a breath. Let it out. Felt her heart rate drop. 70 beats per minute. 60. Steady. Dalton's voice in her head: speed, technique, aggression. But control above all. You're not a berserker. You're a surgeon. She looked at Garrison one more time. He nodded. She opened the door and went through. The first hostile was 6 feet from the door, turned away, talking to his partner. He heard the door started to turn. Cassidy closed the distance in 3 steps, brought the rifle up, not to shoot, as a lever. Hooked it around his neck from behind, pulled back hard, cut off his air and blood flow. He tried to fight it, grab the barrel. But she had position, had leverage, had technique. 4 seconds. He went limp. She lowered him quietly. The second hostile saw her, started to shout, started to raise his weapon. Garrison came through the door behind Cassidy. 2 controlled shots, center mass, suppressed Glock. Not silent, but quiet enough. The hostile dropped. The third hostile dove for cover behind a metal desk. Smart. Started to return fire. Cassidy was already moving. Flanked left while Garrison went right. Basic team tactics. Create multiple angles. Force the enemy to choose. The hostile chose wrong. Focused on Garrison. Cassidy came around his blind side, closed to 3 feet, kicked the desk. It slid. Pinned his weapon against his chest. She swept his legs. He went down. She was on him before he could recover. Knee on his chest, forearm across his throat. Pressure. Not enough to kill, just enough to put him to sleep. 15 seconds. He was out. Cassidy stood up, scanned the room. Clear. The hostages were staring at her, eyes wide. The 2 women looked shell-shocked. The teenage girls were huddled together holding hands. One of the women was maybe 40, dark hair, athletic build despite the zip ties on her wrists. She looked at Cassidy with the kind of assessment that said prior military. "Sloan Whitmore," she said. Her voice was hoarse but steady. "Former Army, 75th Ranger Regiment, medic." The other woman was older, late 40s, professional clothing torn and dirty. She had a cut above her eye that had bled and clotted. "Beckett Hayes," she said. "FBI, hostage rescue team, retired." Cassidy pulled out the folding knife Garrison had given her, moved to cut their restraints. "Cassidy Brennan, Navy, SEAL Team 5. Sloan's eyes widened slightly. "You're a SEAL." "Was. And you just happened to be here." "They grabbed the wrong person. Thought I was my sister." Cassidy cut through the zip ties. Sloan and Beckett rubbed their wrists, got their circulation back. The teenage girls stayed on the floor, still holding hands, still silent. Garrison knelt beside them, spoke softly, checked them over. They were terrified but unhurt. He left them there for now. Better to keep them in one place until the building was secure. Beckett stood up, tested her legs, looked at the 3 unconscious guards. "How many more?" she asked. "Volkov has 12 total," Garrison said. "We took down 3. That leaves 9. Plus Rourke and his team." "Rourke." Sloan's face went pale. "Thaddeus Rourke. You know him. Know of him. Everyone in special operations knows of him. He's supposed to be dead." "He's not," Cassidy said. "And he's coming here to kill all of us and burn the evidence." She moved to the 3 guards, started stripping them of weapons and equipment. 2 Glock 17s, extra magazines, tactical knives, radio. She handed 1 Glock to Sloan. "You remember how to use this, like riding a bike." The other Glock went to Beckett. "You, HRT qualification, I'll manage." Cassidy kept the rifle, AK-103, modern variant, reliable. She checked the magazine, 28 rounds. She slung it across her back. Primary weapon now was the suppressed pistol she'd taken from the first guard. Quieter was better. Less noise meant less attention. The radio on her belt crackled. Russian, fast and urgent. Garrison translated. "They know something's wrong. The guards aren't responding. They're sending a team to check." "How many?" 4. Cassidy looked around the room, calculated. 4 incoming. Narrow hallway. Enclosed space. Perfect. Sloan Beckett, stay with the girls. Garrison with me. They moved back into the hallway. Cassidy positioned herself at one end behind cover. Garrison at the other end. Crossfire position. The radio crackled again. Footsteps echoed. Coming fast. 4 men rounded the corner. Saw the open door. Saw the empty hallway. Realized too late that empty didn't mean safe. Cassidy fired twice. Suppressed rounds. 2 hostiles dropped. Garrison fired. 1 more down. The 4th hostile dove for cover. Smart. Returned fire. Loud. Unsuppressed. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Rounds sparked off concrete. Cassidy dropped low. Let him waste ammunition. Counted shots. 7, 8. Pause for reload. She moved. Fast. Closed the distance while he was vulnerable. 10 feet. 5. He saw her coming. Tried to bring the weapon up. Too slow. She batted the barrel aside with her left hand, drove her right elbow into his jaw, felt bone shift. He dropped. She kicked the weapon away, checked his pulse. Still alive, unconscious. The hallway went quiet, except for the ringing in everyone's ears. Sloan appeared in the doorway, weapon up, ready. She saw the 4 bodies and lowered her pistol. Jesus, how long have you been out? 7 months. You don't fight like someone who's been out 7 months. Cassidy reloaded, kept her eyes on the corridor. Dalton always said retirement was just a change in location. The skills don't retire. Dalton, my grandfather, Master Chief, SEAL instructor. Recognition flashed across Sloan's face. Dalton Thorne. He trained you. From age 12. That explains a lot. Garrison was checking the bodies, stripping weapons. He found something in one of the contractor's pockets. A phone, secured by fingerprint. He pressed the unconscious man's thumb to the screen. It unlocked. What he saw made him go very still. Cassidy. She moved to his side, looked at the phone. It was open to a text thread. Recent messages, coordinates, dates, times. But more importantly, photos. Photos of warehouses, shipping containers, manifests. And one photo of a map with routes marked across the entire western United States. This isn't just trafficking, Garrison said quietly. Look at the manifests. Cassidy scrolled, read, felt something cold settle in her chest. Military-grade weapons, AR-15 pattern rifles, 600 units, M1911 pistols, 300 units, ammunition, 50,000 rounds, C4 explosive, 20 kilograms. They're arming someone, she said. Not someone, multiple someones. Look at the drop points. She looked, saw the locations. Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada, militia country, extremist territory, places where anti-government groups trained and planned and waited for their moment. How long has this been running? Garrison kept scrolling. Found older messages, dates going back years. 16 years, he said. Rourke's been doing this for 16 years. Using his connections from Panama, his knowledge of military logistics, moving weapons from compromised arsenals to domestic terror cells. He looked up at Cassidy. This is bigger than we thought. This isn't just criminal enterprise. This is infrastructure for domestic terrorism. Beckett had come up behind them. She looked at the phone. Her face went white. We need to call this in. FBI needs to see this. ATF, Homeland Security. With what? Garrison asked. We're in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. No cell signal. The only communications are Volkov's encrypted radios. Then we fight our way out. Get to a vehicle. Drive until we have signal. Rourke's team is outside. 6 contractors. Tier 1 operators. They'll have the perimeter locked down. So what do we do? Cassidy was still looking at the phone, at the map, at the routes, at the scope of what they'd stumbled into. Dalton's voice again. Sometimes the mission changes. You go in thinking it's one thing. You discover it's something else. When that happens, you adapt. You don't abort. You adapt. She handed the phone back to Garrison. We secure the building first. Then we deal with Rourke. Then we get this information to people who can act on it. In that order. In that order. Sloane checked her weapon. How many hostiles left inside? Garrison did the math. Started with 12. We've taken down 7. That leaves 5, plus Volkov. And outside, Rourke plus 6 contractors, 7 more. 13 total. Sloane looked at Cassidy. Against 4 of us. 3 if we're keeping the girls safe. I've had worse odds. When? Fallujah, 2008. 5 SEALs against 40 insurgents in a compound. We won. How? Cassidy smiled. It was thin and sharp. We made them come to us, made them fight our fight, made them think they were winning until they weren't. She looked down the hallway, at the shadows, at the pools of light. This building is our terrain now. We know it. They don't. We've taken weapons from them. We've reduced their numbers. And they still think we're hostages, victims, people to be executed. She chambered around in the suppressed pistol. We're going to teach them differently. A door slammed somewhere above them. 2nd floor. Footsteps. Multiple people moving fast. The radio on Cassidy's belt crackled. Russian. Volkov's voice. Garrison listened, translated. He's pulling everyone back to the 2nd floor, creating a defensive position. He knows we're armed now, knows we're dangerous. He's adapting. Smart, Cassidy said. Smart makes it harder. Smart makes it interesting. She turned to Sloane and Beckett. You two stay here with the girl. Barricade the door. Anyone comes through who isn't me or Garrison, you shoot them. Where are you going? Beckett asked. 2nd floor. There's an armory somewhere in this building. Has to be. Operations this size don't run without a weapons cache. We need to find it before they lock it down. That's suicide. They'll be waiting. They'll be waiting for hostages, for victims, for scared people trying to escape. Cassidy checked her gear, secured the rifle across her back, holstered the pistol, pulled the tactical knife from its sheath, tested the edge, sharp enough to shave with. They won't be waiting for me. Garrison looked at her, saw something in her eyes that reminded him of men he'd served with in places that didn't exist on maps. Men who'd walked into situations that should have killed them and walked out carrying their wounded. Dalton taught you well, he said. Dalton taught me everything that mattered. She moved to the stairwell door, put her hand on the handle, listened. heard footsteps above, voices, the sound of weapons being readied, men preparing for a fight. "When we go up there," she said quietly, "it's going to get loud. It's going to get violent. And some of those men aren't going to walk away." Garrison checked his weapon. "I'm aware. I need you to be aware of something else." "What's that?" She looked at him. Her eyes were calm, clear, no doubt, no hesitation. "I'm going to give them every chance to surrender, every opportunity to stand down. But if they choose to fight, I'm going to end it, fast, efficiently, the way Dalton taught me, the way a SEAL would, the way a SEAL does." She opened the door. The stairwell was dark, metal stairs leading up, the smell of rust and oil. Emergency lighting flickered on the second-floor landing. Cassidy started up, one step at a time, silent. The rifle now in her hands, safety off. Finger along the receiver, not on the trigger, not yet. Garrison followed, 5 feet behind, covering her angles, moving like they'd trained together for years instead of minutes. They were halfway up when the shooting started, muzzle flashes from above, automatic fire, rounds sparked off metal, ricocheted. The sound was enormous in the enclosed space. Cassidy dropped flat on the stairs. Return fire came from somewhere behind them. Sloan and Beckett giving covering fire from the doorway below. The shooting from above stopped. Voices, Russian, urgent. Cassidy moved, fast. Up the remaining stairs while they were repositioning. Came through the doorway low and fast. The second floor was open plan. Old factory floor. Machinery long since removed. Just empty space with support columns every 20 feet. Catwalks overhead. Offices built into the walls on 3 sides. 5 hostels, spread out, using the columns for cover. Cassidy identified the threats in a fraction of a second. Distance, weapons, capability. Who was trained and who was just muscle. 2 on the left. 1 with an AK, 1 with a pistol. The one with the pistol was nervous, amateur. The one with the rifle was steady, professional. 2 on the right, both with rifles, both moving with military precision. Contractors, former military, dangerous. 1 straight ahead, Volkov, behind a support column, handgun, watching, commanding. Cassidy made her decision. She went left. The amateur saw her coming, raised his pistol, fired wild. Rounds went wide. She didn't even flinch, just kept moving. Close the distance. 20 feet, 15, 10. He fired again. Closer this time. She felt the round pass near her head. Still didn't slow. 5 feet. She shot him. 2 rounds. Center mass. He dropped. The professional with the AK swung around, tried to track her. She was already inside his turn radius. Grabbed the barrel, pushed it up. His burst went into the ceiling. She drove her knee into his groin. As he folded, she stripped the weapon, reversed it, butt stroke to his temple. He dropped. The 2 contractors on the right were firing now. Controlled bursts, professional. Rounds sparked around her. She dove behind a column, felt the impacts vibrate through the concrete. These weren't amateurs. These were trained operators. Garrison came through the stairwell door, drew their fire, gave Cassidy the opening she needed. She rolled out from cover, low, fast, came up firing. 3-round burst, controlled, accurate. The first contractor took 2 rounds in the chest. His body armor stopped them, but the kinetic impact put him down. The second contractor dove for cover. Smart, repositioned. Started laying down suppressive fire, keeping her pinned. This was going to be a problem. Cassidy scanned the space, looked up, saw the catwalks, saw the stairs leading up, saw the angle. She broke from cover, sprinted for the stairs. Rounds chased her. Sparked off metal, ricocheted. She kept moving, reached the stairs, up, taking them 3 at a time. The contractor tried to track her, couldn't get the angle. She was above him now, on the catwalk, looking down. She lined up the shot, breathed out, fired, 1 round, center mass from above. He dropped. The warehouse went quiet, except for the ringing of gunfire echoes. Cassidy scanned. 4 hostiles down. Where was the 5th movement? Behind a column. Volkov. He stepped out, no weapon raised, hands visible, but not empty. He was holding something. A phone. His thumb over a button. That's far enough, he said. Cassidy kept her weapon on him. Drop it. I don't think so. This phone is connected to charges we placed throughout the building. C4, 5 kilograms in 3 locations. This button activates the timer. 30 seconds. Enough time for me to leave. Not enough time for you. You're bluffing. Am I? You want to test that theory? Garrison had come up behind Cassidy. He saw the phone, saw Volkov's face, knew it wasn't a bluff. Stand down, he said quietly. Cassidy didn't lower her weapon. He's a criminal. He's killed people. He's trafficking weapons to terrorists. And he's holding a dead man's switch. You shoot him, we all die. Maybe that's acceptable. It's not. Those girls downstairs, Sloan, Beckett, they don't deserve to die because we couldn't let this one walk. Cassidy's finger was on the trigger. 1 pound of pressure. That's all it would take. 1 pound and Volkov's head would snap back and he'd never hurt anyone again. But the girls, teenage girls who'd already been through hell, who deserved to see their families again, who deserved to have a life. Dalton's voice. Being dangerous is easy. Being controlled is hard. Cassidy lowered the weapon. 1 inch, 2 inches, pointed at the floor. Volkov smiled. It was ugly. Smart girl, he said. Then the window behind him exploded inward. Glass shattered. A figure came through, fast, armored, professional, landed in a crouch, weapon up, but not aimed at Cassidy, aimed at Volkov. The figure fired, once, suppressed round. Volkov's hand jerked, the phone went flying, skittered across the floor. The figure moved, kicked Volkov's legs out, put him face down on the concrete, zip-tied his hands behind his back. All in less than 3 seconds. Then the figure stood up, removed the helmet. It was a man, late 60s, silver hair cut military short, face like weathered leather, eyes that had seen everything and weren't impressed by any of it. He looked at Cassidy, studied her. His expression gave away nothing. Cassidy Brennan, he said. His voice was gravel and iron. Dalton Thorne's granddaughter. She raised her weapon, pointed it at his chest. Who are you? Colonel Thaddeus Rourke. But you already knew that. You're here to kill us. No. He looked at Volkov on the ground, at the unconscious contractors, at the tactical situation that had developed. I'm here because Volkov is an idiot who compromised a 16-year operation by grabbing the wrong person. He looked back at Cassidy, and now I'm here to clean up his mess. He raised his hands, showing he meant no threat. His weapon hung from its sling, within reach, but not in his hands. I'm not your enemy, Cassidy. Believe it or not, I'm here to help. Help? Garrison's voice was hard. You've been running weapons to domestic terrorists for 16 years. I've been tracking domestic terrorists for 16 years. There's a difference. He gestured at Volkov. This idiot thought he was working for a criminal enterprise, thought I was former Delta gone bad. He never knew the truth. That this whole operation was a CIA sting. That every weapon we moved was tracked. That every buyer we identified was documented. That we've spent 16 years mapping the entire extremist infrastructure in the western United States. Rourke's eyes were cold. And now, because he grabbed a SEAL's granddaughter by mistake, the whole thing is blown, compromised. 16 years of work, hundreds of investigations, thousands of hours, gone. He looked at Cassidy. So no, I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to salvage what I can. And that starts with getting all of you out of here alive. Cassidy didn't lower her weapon. Prove it. Rourke pulled out his own phone, unlocked it, handed it to her. Call the number under Langley. Talk to Deputy Director Morrison. He'll verify everything I just said. Cassidy took the phone, looked at it, looked at Garrison. He was staring at Rourke. His expression was complicated. Anger, disbelief, recognition. You were dead, Garrison said. We had a funeral, with honors. Your name is on the memorial. I know, I was there, watching from a distance, making sure everyone believed it. Why? Because the mission required it. Because sometimes you have to die to do the job that needs doing. Rourke looked at Volkov on the ground. But now, the job is done. Or it will be once we secure this building and extract the intelligence before more of his people show up. He looked back at Cassidy, at the weapon still pointed at his chest. So you have a choice, Miss Brennan. You can shoot me and try to fight your way out of here with 2 FBI agents, a medic, 2 traumatized girls, and Garrison, against the 6 contractors outside who will absolutely open fire if they think their payday is in jeopardy. He paused. Or you can lower that weapon. Let me make a phone call. Let me extract you and everyone else safely. And let me finish the mission that Dalton Thorne would absolutely have understood. Cassidy's finger was still on the trigger. The warehouse was silent except for breathing, except for the small sounds of injured men groaning, except for the distant sound of vehicles outside. She thought about Dalton, about his letter, about control being harder than being dangerous. She thought about the teenage girls downstairs, about getting them home. She thought about 16 years of intelligence, about stopping the weapons flow, about the bigger mission. Then she lowered her weapon. Make your call, she said. Rourke nodded, took his phone back, dialed, waited. When someone answered, he spoke quietly, quickly, gave coordinates, gave situation report, gave extraction orders. He hung up. 30 minutes, he said. FBI tactical teams, ATF marshals. They'll secure the building, take Volkov and his people into custody, extract the intelligence, and get all of you out of here. He looked at Cassidy one more time. Dalton trained you well. He'd be proud of what you did here today. You didn't know him. Actually, Rourke said quietly, I did. He was my combatives instructor in 1984. Taught me everything I know about hand-to-hand. I'm alive today because of what he taught me. He smiled. It was tired. So believe me when I say this, you're exactly what he meant you to be. Dangerous, controlled, and able to make the hard call when it matters. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Rourke moved to the window, looked out, saw vehicles approaching. Your ride's here, he said. He looked back at Cassidy one more time. This isn't over. When the dust settles, when the reports are filed, CIA is going to come looking for you. We need people like you, people Dalton trained, people who can do what needs doing. I'm retired. So was I. How did that work out? He smiled again. Then he moved to the door, stopped, turned back. Think about it, he said. Then he was gone. Cassidy stood in the empty warehouse, surrounded by unconscious men, with Garrison beside her, with the sound of sirens getting louder. She thought about Dalton, about his letter, about being dangerous versus being controlled. She'd made the controlled choice tonight. Let Volkov live. Let Rourke walk. Chose the mission over revenge. That was growth. That was mastery. But part of her, the part Dalton had trained from age 12, whispered that the fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. The FBI arrived in force. 6 black SUVs, 2 armored tactical vehicles, 30 agents in full kit. They swarmed the warehouse like ants on a carcass, efficient and thorough, leaving no corner unsearched. Special Agent Rowan Kincaid was first through the door, 43 years old, former Marine MP. She moved like someone who'd spent 20 years kicking down doors and still remembered how. She found Cassidy on the second floor, standing over 3 unconscious contractors, rifle slung across her back, hands visible. Not threatening, just waiting. Kincaid's team fanned out around her, weapons raised, laser dots painted across Cassidy's chest. On the ground, Kincaid said. Her voice was flat, professional. Hands behind your head. Now. Cassidy didn't move. Garrison Webb is downstairs with 4 civilian hostages. 2 are teenage trafficking victims. They need medical attention, not handcuffs. I said on the ground. I heard you. They stared at each other. Kincaid saw a woman in her late 20s. Blonde hair pulled back, jeans and flannel shirt, looked like a ranch hand. But she was standing in a warehouse full of unconscious criminals holding a rifle like she knew how to use it, with eyes that showed zero fear of 30 federal agents. Something didn't add up. Who are you? Kincaid asked. Cassidy Brennan, Navy, SEAL Team 5, retired. The laser dots didn't waver, but something shifted in Kincaid's expression. Recognition, maybe, or calculation. You're the one who did this. She gestured at the scene, the bodies, the tactical precision of the takedowns. Me and Garrison. Garrison Webb, CIA contractor. He's been undercover for 14 months. He can verify everything. Kincaid spoke into her radio. Quick orders. A team moved downstairs. 30 seconds later, Her radio crackled. Confirmation. 4 hostages. 1 matching Webb's description. All alive. Hostages requesting medical but stable. Kincaid lowered her weapon, signaled her team to do the same. The laser dots disappeared. "Stand down," she said. Then to Cassidy, "You want to explain what happened here?" "They grabbed the wrong person. Thought I was my sister. She's a journalist. Wrote articles about their operation. They wanted revenge. And you fought your way out." "I fought my way through." Kincaid looked around the warehouse again, counted bodies, did the math. 12 hostiles, all neutralized, 0 friendly casualties. "How many did you kill?" "None." Kincaid's eyebrows went up. "None? They're unconscious, restrained, disarmed, but alive. You took down 12 armed men without killing any of them." "I took down most of them. Garrison got some. The teenage girls got none, obviously. But yes, nobody died." Kincaid was quiet for a moment. Then she holstered her weapon, walked closer, studied Cassidy's face. "I was Marine MP," she said. "Did 3 tours, Iraq and Afghanistan. I've seen a lot of operators, a lot of hard men who could do impossible things." She paused. "But I've never seen someone clear a building full of hostiles and keep them all breathing. That takes a special kind of skill, or a special kind of restraint. My grandfather taught me that killing is easy. Controlling when you kill is hard. Your grandfather was military. Master Chief Dalton Thorne, SEAL instructor." Recognition flashed across Kincaid's face. Thorne. The Thorne. The one who created the Modern Combatives program. That's him. Jesus Christ. Kincaid looked at the scene with new understanding. He trained you from age 12. And then you made it through BUDS. Class 348. Kincaid shook her head slowly. "No wonder you tore through these guys like tissue paper." She keyed her radio. "All teams, the woman on second floor is friendly. Former SEAL, stand down. Repeat, stand down." Acknowledgements came back. The tension in the building dropped several notches. Kincaid turned back to Cassidy. "We need statements. From you, from Webb, from the hostages. This is going to be a long debrief." "There's something else," Cassidy said. "Something bigger than the kidnapping." "What?" "Weapons trafficking. 16 years worth. Systematic movement of military-grade hardware to domestic extremist groups. Routes across 8 states. Hundreds of buyers. All documented." Kincaid's expression went very still. "How do you know this?" "Found it on their phones. Maps, manifests, communications. Everything you need to roll up the entire network." "And where are these phones now?" "Garrison has them. He's been documenting everything. He's CIA. This was his operation." Kincaid keyed her radio again. "Get Webb up here, now. And somebody find me a secure line to Langley. We have a situation." 3 minutes later, Garrison came through the door. He looked tired, older than he had a few hours ago. The weight of 14 months undercover was showing. He handed Kincaid a waterproof bag. Inside were 3 phones, a tablet, USB drives, physical documents. "Everything," he said. "Names, dates, routes, buyers. 16 years of intelligence. You're looking at the biggest domestic terrorism supply chain takedown in history." Kincaid opened the bag, looked inside. Her face went pale. "Jesus, this is real. All verified, all actionable. And Rourke. Garrison glanced at Cassidy. She said nothing. Rourke is complicated, Garrison said carefully. His role in this operation is above my clearance level. You'll need to talk to Langley about that. Where is he now? Gone. Left before you arrived. Of course he did. Kincaid sealed the bag. This goes straight to the director. No chain of custody issues. No leaks. This is national security level. She looked at Cassidy and Garrison. You two just stumbled into something way bigger than a kidnapping. This is going to have repercussions all the way to Washington. We just want to go home, Cassidy said. I know, but it's not that simple. CIA is going to want to debrief you. Probably for days. FBI needs statements. ATF will want to coordinate on the weapons charges. This is going to take time. How much time? Kincaid's radio crackled. She listened. Her expression changed, became guarded. There's someone here to see you, she said to Cassidy. Says he knows you. Deputy Director Morrison, CIA. Already. He was on a helicopter 20 minutes after Rourke called it in. He's very interested in meeting you. Cassidy looked at Garrison. He shrugged. Morrison's okay, he said. Old school. If he wants to talk, you should listen. Kincaid led them downstairs, through the warehouse, past teams of agents cataloging evidence, past paramedics treating the hostages, past Volkov and his men being loaded into vans, hands cuffed, faces bloody. Outside the parking lot was chaos, vehicles everywhere, agents running operations, news helicopters in the distance being waved off by local police, and standing beside a black SUV watching everything with calm assessment was a man in his 60s. Gray suit, no tie. He looked like a college professor, but he moved like a predator. Miss Brennan, he said as they approached. His voice was quiet, cultured. East Coast Education. I'm Deputy Director Morrison, CIA. Thank you for not shooting Colonel Rourke. You're welcome. He says you had ample opportunity, that you showed remarkable restraint. I showed common sense. Shooting him wouldn't have helped anyone. Morrison smiled. That's the response I was hoping for. Restraint and tactical awareness. Rare combination. He glanced at Garrison. Good work, Webb. 14 months is a long time to maintain cover. Yes, sir. Take a few weeks, decompress. We'll debrief when you're ready. Thank you, sir. Morrison turned back to Cassidy. Walk with me. It wasn't really a question. Cassidy followed him away from the chaos. They walked to the edge of the parking lot, stopped near a fence line. Beyond it, empty Wyoming prairie stretched to the horizon. Morrison was quiet for a moment, just looking at the landscape. Dalton Thorne was a friend of mine, he said finally. Not close, but we worked together a few times. Back when I was younger, when he was still active. He never mentioned you. He wouldn't have. Operational security. But I knew him well enough to recognize his work when I see it. He turned to face her. What you did tonight. Taking down 12 hostiles without killing any of them. Keeping civilians safe. Making the tactically sound choice even when violence was easier. That's Dalton's teaching. That's his legacy. He taught me to be dangerous and to control it. The second part is harder than the first. I know. Morrison studied her face. How long have you been out? 7 months. And how's civilian life treating you? It's quiet. Is that good or bad? Cassidy thought about that, about the ranch, about the morning runs and the cattle and the empty spaces where adrenaline used to be. I don't know yet, she said honestly. Morrison nodded. That's a good answer. Better than pretending you're fine. Better than saying you miss it. He pulled out a business card, plain white, just a phone number, no name, no agency. When you figure out the answer, he said, call this number. Why? Because we need people like you. People Dalton trained, people who can operate at the highest level and still make the right call when it matters. I'm retired. So you said, but retirement is just a state of mind. The skills don't retire. The training doesn't retire. And the mission never stops. He handed her the card. Think about it. No pressure, no deadline. Just know that if you decide civilian life isn't for you, there's work available. Important work. The kind Dalton would approve of. Cassidy took the card, looked at the number, put it in her pocket. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. Morrison started to walk away. Stopped. Turned back. One more thing. Your sister, Deirdre. She's safe. We have a protection detail on her. Just until Volkov's organization is fully dismantled. Should be a few weeks. Thank you. Thank Garrison. He's the one who requested it. Morrison walked back toward the vehicles. Cassidy stood alone by the fence line, watching the sun come up over the prairie, painting the sky orange and pink and gold. It was beautiful, peaceful, exactly the kind of morning she'd moved to Montana to experience. But something felt wrong. Or maybe not wrong, just incomplete. Like she'd left something unfinished. 8 months later, Naval Special Warfare Center, Coronado, California. The kill house smelled like sweat and gunpowder and fear. It was a familiar smell. One Cassidy had breathed for years. One she'd walked away from 7 months ago. One she was breathing again now. She stood in the instructor's area, watching through one-way glass as a class of SEAL candidates ran through their close-quarters battle drills. 24 candidates, 21 men, 3 women. The women were new, part of the integration program, first female candidates to make it this far into the pipeline in 3 years. They were good, technically sound, physically capable, but they were tentative, hesitant in a way that could get them killed in real operations. Cassidy made a note on her tablet, watched them clear another room, saw the same hesitation, the same fractional pause before committing to action. Beside her, the lead instructor watched with folded arms. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Doyle. 20 years in the teams. Built like a bulldozer. Face like weathered granite. They're good, he said, but not good enough. They're afraid of making mistakes, Cassidy replied. Mistakes get you killed. So does hesitation. Doyle glanced at her. You think you can fix it? I can try. You've got 40 minutes. Make it count. Cassidy walked onto the kill house floor. The candidates stopped, turned to look at her. Some of them recognized her. Most didn't. She was just another instructor in a building full of instructors. Reset, she said. Her voice was calm, clear, carried through the space without shouting. Everyone to the start position. They moved. Cassidy walked to the center of the first room, stood there, waited. When they were ready, she spoke. My name is Cassidy Brennan. I was SEAL Team 5, CQB specialist. I've cleared real buildings in real combat, multiple tours, multiple engagements, and I'm here to tell you something important." She looked at the three women. They were watching her with desperate intensity, like she was the answer to questions they hadn't figured out how to ask. "You're good," Cassidy said. "Technically, you're all solid. Your mechanics are clean, your tactics are sound, but you're fighting scared. And scared operators are dead operators." One of the women, blonde maybe 5'6", looked like a college athlete, spoke up. "Ma'am, we're not scared, we're being careful." Same thing. Being careful means you're thinking. Thinking means you're slow. And slow gets you killed. Cassidy moved to the entry point, positioned herself. Combat isn't careful. Combat is speed, technique, and aggression, in that order. You hit the door fast, you clear the room with precision, and you do it with absolute commitment. No hesitation, no second thoughts. She looked at the blonde candidate. "What's your name?" "Taylor." "Candidate Taylor." "Why are you hesitating, Taylor?" "I'm not." "Yes, you are. I watched you clear 5 rooms. Every single one you pause for a fraction of a second before entering. Why?" Taylor's jaw tightened. "Because I don't want to make a mistake." "And what happens if you make a mistake?" "I fail." "Wrong. In training, you learn. In combat, you die. There's a difference." Cassidy stepped closer, close enough that Taylor had to look up to meet her eyes. "You're not hesitating because you're afraid of failing. You're hesitating because you're afraid you don't belong here, that you're not good enough, that the men are better. Am I right?" Taylor's face flushed, but she held Cassidy's gaze. "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Honesty is important. Now let me be honest with you." Cassidy stepped back, addressed all 3 women, and the 21 men who were listening just as intently. "I'm 5'4". I weigh 130 on a heavy day. I'm smaller than every single person in this room. When I went through buds, I was the smallest candidate in my class. Men twice my size told me I didn't belong, that I couldn't hack it, that I should quit." She paused. "I didn't quit. I finished. I made it onto a team. I deployed multiple times. And I'm still here. Not because I'm bigger. Not because I'm stronger. But because I'm faster, more technical, and more aggressive than anyone who stood in my way." She looked at Taylor again. "So stop hesitating. Stop second-guessing yourself. You made it this far because you're good enough. Now prove it." Cassidy moved to the entry point, handed Taylor a training rifle, blue safety rounds, non-lethal. "You and me," she said. "Live demonstration. You're going to clear this room. I'm going to be the hostile, and I'm going to show you what happens when you hesitate." Taylor took the rifle. Her hands were shaking slightly. Adrenaline. "Good. Ready." Taylor nodded. "Then go." Taylor moved to the door. Paused. Just for a fraction of a second. Cassidy saw it. Used it. The moment Taylor came through the door, Cassidy moved from her position, closed the distance, had her hands on the rifle barrel before Taylor could react. She redirected the muzzle, stripped the weapon, swept Taylor's legs, put her on the ground, all in under 2 seconds. Taylor hit the floor hard. Cassidy stood over her, rifle in hand. "Dead?" Cassidy said. "You hesitated." "I didn't. That's the difference." She helped Taylor up, handed the rifle back. Again. Taylor reset. This time, no hesitation. She came through the door fast, weapon up, scanned left, scanned right. Cassidy moved from cover. Taylor tracked her, fired. Blue rounds hit center mass. Better, Cassidy said. But your scan was mechanical, predictable. Real hostiles will use that. They ran it again, and again, and again. Each time Cassidy showed Taylor where she was vulnerable, where her technique could improve, where speed mattered more than precision. By the 10th run, Taylor was moving like a different person, faster, more confident, more aggressive. That's it, Cassidy said. That's what I want to see. You're not thinking anymore. You're reacting. You're trusting your training. She turned to the other two women. Your turn. For the next 30 minutes, Cassidy ran them through drill after drill, showed them how to use their smaller size as an advantage, how to move faster in confined spaces, how to get inside a larger opponent's reach, how to think like a predator instead of prey. The male candidates watched, some with respect, some with skepticism, all with attention. When the time was up, Chief Doyle called the session. The candidates filed out, exhausted, sweating, but different. Cassidy could see it in their posture, in their eyes. Taylor stopped at the door, turned back. Ma'am, yes, thank you. Cassidy nodded. Don't thank me. Show me. Pass this course. Make it onto a team. Deploy. Come back. Then thank me. Taylor smiled. It was fierce. Yes, ma'am. She left. Doyle walked over to Cassidy. He was grinning. Damn, he said. Dalton taught you well. He taught me everything that mattered. Those women needed that. Hell, the men needed that too. Sometimes they forget that size isn't everything. Size is never everything. It's just one variable. Doyle looked at her thoughtfully. How long are you contracted for? 6 months. Trial basis. And after that? I don't know yet. Well, for what it's worth, I hope you stay. We need instructors like you. Instructors who've done it for real. Who can teach from experience instead of theory. He paused. Plus, those female candidates need role models. Someone who's been where they're trying to go. Someone who can show them it's possible. Cassidy looked through the one-way glass. At the empty kill house. At the spent shell casings on the floor. At the blood and sweat and tears that soaked into every wall. This place had shaped her, broken her down and built her back up, turned her from a ranch girl into a warrior. And now she was back, teaching others, passing on what Dalton had passed to her. It felt right, complete, like a circuit closing. I'll think about staying, she said. That's all I can ask. Cassidy's phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. She opened it. Principal protection detail. High-risk transport. Seattle to D.C. 1520 hostiles expected. Client specifically requested Havoc. Are you available? She stared at the message. At the familiar call sign. At the implicit challenge. Civilian contractor work. The kind Morrison had mentioned. The kind that paid well and meant something. The kind where people's lives depended on your skills and your judgment. The kind of work Dalton would understand. She looked at the kill house again, at the instructors running the next drill, at the candidates pushing themselves past their limits. She could stay here, teach, shape the next generation, live quietly, keep the danger contained to training exercises. Or she could go back. One more time, one more mission, one more chance to use what Dalton taught her. Being dangerous is easy. Being controlled is hard. But knowing when to be dangerous, that was mastery. She typed a response. When and where? The reply came instantly. Briefing tomorrow. 0800 Seattle Field Office. Bring your kit. This one's going to be interesting. Cassidy smiled. Put the phone away. Looked at Doyle. I need a few days, she said. Personal matter. I'll be back next week. Everything okay? Everything's fine. Just something I need to handle. Doyle nodded. Take the time you need. Just come back. I will. She walked out of the kill house, into the California sunshine, felt the warmth on her face, heard the ocean in the distance, smelled salt air and possibility. Her truck was in the parking lot. Black Ford, Montana plates. Rifle case in the back, go bag in the passenger seat. Always ready, always prepared. Like Dalton taught her, she got in, started the engine, sat there for a moment, thinking about the ranch in Montana, about the quiet mornings and the cattle and the peace, about the kill house in Coronado, about the candidates and the teaching and the legacy, about the mission in Seattle, about the danger and the adrenaline and the purpose. 3 different lives, 3 different versions of who she could be. But maybe they weren't different at all. Maybe they were all the same thing. Different expressions of the same core truth. Dalton had trained her to be dangerous, taught her to control it, shown her when to use it. The ranch was control. The kill house was teaching. The mission was application. All 3 mattered. All 3 were part of who she was. She pulled out of the parking lot, headed north, toward Seattle, toward the briefing, toward whatever came next. The radio was playing something old. Country. A song about going home. She turned it up. In the rearview mirror, Coronado got smaller. The Naval Special Warfare Center. The beach where she'd run until her lungs burned. The obstacle course that had broken her and rebuilt her. The place where she'd become a SEAL. It was still there, still shaping warriors, still carrying on Dalton's legacy. And now, she was carrying it too, in a different way, teaching when she could, fighting when she must, living somewhere between the two. Her phone buzzed again. Different number this time. Familiar. Hey sis, heard you're doing instructor work at Coronado. Mom and Dad are proud. I'm proud. When are you coming home, Deirdre? Safe in Boston. Back to her journalism, writing stories that mattered, living the life she'd chosen. Cassidy typed back. Soon. Got some work to finish first. Love you. Love you too. Be safe. Always. She put the phone down, focused on the road, on the miles ahead, on the mission that waited. The sun was setting behind her, painting the desert in shades of orange and gold. The day dying, night coming, the eternal cycle. Cassidy drove into it, into the darkness, into whatever came next. Because that's what Dalton taught her. That's what SEALs do. They move forward, always forward, into danger, into uncertainty, into the places where other people won't go, not because they're fearless, but because someone has to, and she'd been trained by the best. 5 hours later, she pulled into a motel outside Seattle. Cheap, clean, anonymous. The kind of place where nobody asked questions. She checked in, paid cash, carried her bag to the room, locked the door, drew the curtains. Then she unpacked. The rifle case opened. Inside her custom AR-15, built for close quarters, 16-inch barrel, holographic sight, sling, 3 magazines, 200 rounds of ammunition. The go bag contained the rest: body armor, medical kit, communications gear, clothing. Everything she needed for 3 days in the field. She laid it all out on the bed, checked every piece, made sure everything functioned, prepared for tomorrow. This was familiar, comfortable, the ritual of preparation, the meditation of gear checks, the quiet focus before action. It was who she was, what she'd become, what Dalton had made her: dangerous, controlled, ready. She sat on the edge of the bed, pulled out her phone, looked at Morrison's number, the one he'd given her 8 months ago, looked at the text about tomorrow's mission, looked at the photo on her phone's background. Dalton. Silver hair, weather-worn face, eyes that missed nothing, standing in front of the barn, smiling that rare smile. "I hope I'm making you proud," she said quietly, to the empty room, to the ghost of the man who'd shaped her. The room didn't answer, but somehow she knew. She was exactly where she needed to be, doing exactly what she needed to do, being dangerous when necessary, being controlled when possible, being ready always. That was Dalton's legacy. That was her inheritance. That was who Cassidy Brennan was. She set the alarm for 0600, lay down, closed her eyes. Tomorrow would bring what it brought. Seattle, the briefing, the mission, the danger. She'd handle it, like she always did, like Dalton taught her. One mission at a time, one engagement at a time, one choice at a time. Being the thing that people like Volkov should have been afraid of from the start. A farm girl from Montana, a Navy SEAL, a warrior, the wrong twin, the dangerous one, the one they should never have grabbed. Cassidy smiled in the darkness. They'd picked the wrong twin indeed. And tomorrow, someone else would learn that same lesson. She fell asleep with her hand near her weapon, ready, always ready, the way Dalton taught her, the way SEALs sleep, the way warriors rest between battles. Outside Seattle gleamed in the night. A million lights, a million lives, a million stories. And in a cheap motel room, one of those stories prepared to continue. The story of what happens when you grab the wrong person, when you underestimate the farm girl, when you forget that size doesn't matter, when you forget that dangerous is a choice. And some people have been trained to make that choice better than others. Tomorrow would remind them. Cassidy Brennan would make sure of it.